It was supposed to be a simple weekend trip, nothing more than a chance to get away from the noise of the city and breathe in a fresh mountain air. There were 4 of us, me, my best friend Daniel, his cousin Leah, and her boyfriend Ryan. We had packed our tents, food and sleeping bags, planning to hike up into the old range that locals called Hollow Peak. The name didn't mean much to us, just another mountain with the trail. But the people in the small gas station we stopped at gave us strange looks when we mentioned our destination. One old man's skin wrinkled like dried leather muttered, "Not safe up there, mountain doesn't like visitors." We laughed it off, brushing it aside as superstition. After all, camping in a forbidden place only made it more exciting. The hike started well enough. The trail wound upward through dense pine forest, the air sharp with the scent of sap and damp earth. By late afternoon, the sunlight slipped in, golden beams through the branches, painting the ground in patches of light and shadow. We finally reached a clearing halfway up the slope, wide enough to pitch 2 tents. The view overlooked the valley cloaked in fog. It should have felt beautiful, but something about the silence unsettled me. There were no birds calling, no rustle of animals, just an unnatural stillness pressing in. Daniel joked about it being the perfect horror movie setup, and we all laughed nervously before getting to work. By nightfall we had a fire crackling, and the smell of roasted hot dogs filled the air. Conversation was easy, stories flowing with the crackle of flames. But every so often, I caught Ryan glancing toward the tree line, as if something in the darkness bothered him. "You guys hear that?" he asked once. Voice low, we paused listening. Nothing but the faint hiss of wind. Leo rolled her eyes and threw another log on the fire. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Ryan wasn't just imagining things. The first real sign came around midnight. We had settled into our tents, the fire burning down to glowing embers. I was half asleep when I heard it. A crunch of footsteps, deliberate and slow, circling our camp. My breath froze. I strained to hear, praying it was just Daniel, sneaking out to relieve himself. But then I realized I could hear his steady breathing in the sleeping bag beside me. Whoever was walking out there, it wasn't us. The sound faded into the woods, leaving only the pounding of my heart. I didn't dare unzip the tent. Instead I lay rigid, until exhaustion finally dragged me back under. In the morning the others were pale and quiet. Ryan admitted he'd heard the same thing. Footsteps pacing just beyond the firelight. Leah brushed it off, saying maybe it was a deer, but her eyes betrayed her unease. That day we hiked higher up the ridge, hoping to distract ourselves. The trail grew steeper, the trees denser, and soon the fog rolled in, thicker than before, swallowing the mountain in a cold, grey shroud. At one point, I spotted something strange, a set of footprints pressed deep into the damp soil. Not animal tracks, these were human, bare and far too large to belong to any of us. They led off the trail and disappeared into the fog. Ryan insisted we turn back, but Daniel laughed it off, saying it was probably just another hiker. Reluctantly we continued. When night fell again, the mountains seemed to close around us. The fire barely pushed back the darkness, and the air carried a sour, metallic smell like rust or old blood. As we sat in an easy silence, a low whistle drifted from the woods, rising and falling in a strange, unnatural pattern. Leah whispered, "It's someone out there," but the longer we listened, the more it felt wrong, less like a person, and more like the mountain itself was breathing. Sleep didn't come easily. I must have drifted off at some point, because I woke with a start to the sound of our tent zipper being tugged slowly, as if someone outside was trying not to make noise. My stomach dropped. I held my breath, clutching the flashlight, waiting. The zipper stopped halfway. Silence stretched out for what felt like forever. Then slowly it slid back down, and the presence outside faded into the woods. By dawn we were terrified. Daniel finally admitted he didn't want to stay another night. We packed up quickly, eager to leave. But when we tried to follow the trail back down, it wasn't there. The trail twisted in ways none of us remembered. Landmarks seemed wrong, and the forest closed in tighter with every step. Hours passed. We walked in circles. The fog never lifted. By late afternoon, exhaustion and panic set in. That's when Leah screamed. We rushed over to where she stood, pointing at the ground. There, pressed into the soil, were fresh footprints, bare, huge, the same as before, only this time They circled us like something had been following, watching, waiting. As night fell again, we stumbled into a clearing, but this wasn't the same one we had camped in before. In the center stood a stone structure, half buried and crumbling, like the remains of some ancient altar. Symbols we couldn't read were carved into the rock, smeared with something dark that looked too much like dried blood. Ryan muttered that we should run, but Daniel stepped closer, saying maybe it was just old native carvings. That's when the whistling returned, louder this time, closer, coming from all around us. Figures began to emerge from the fog, tall and thin, their bodies strangely elongated, faces hidden in shadow. They moved slowly, circling, their bare feet silent on the ground. My body froze, every instinct screaming to flee, but my legs wouldn't move. Then, without warning, the fire pit we had hastily built roared to life on its own, flames bursting high, casting a sickly red glow across the clearing. In that light, I saw their faces, if you could call them that, hollow sockets where eyes should be, mouths stretched to wide, skin pale as ash. They tilted their heads in unison, like predators studying prey. I don't remember how we escaped. The next thing I recall is stumbling down the mountain trail in daylight, bruised, scratched, clothes torn. We collapsed at the ranger station, incoherent, unable to explain how we had gotten out. Daniel never spoke about what happened. Leah refuses to set foot in the woods again. Ryan moved away a month later, saying the mountain followed him in his dreams. As for me, I don't hike anymore. Not after Camping Mountain, because sometimes, late at night, when the wind dies down and silence fills the air, I swear I still hear it, the faint, hollow whistle of something waiting in the fog.